Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to work on Tai Chi Paradigm for Parkinson's. So we're going to go through a few exercises, work with some of the footwork. I know, some people have been following and are watching it. So I try to stay fairly consistent with the same different movements, and then modify it a little bit. But hopefully it's simple enough for you to track and follow. So here we are. We're going to go into this position like this, and it's a shoulder width stance. So that's as wide as your shoulders. We bring our hands up like this, and we turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, now the feet stay, the body turns. So we're not actually moving the feet, not in this instance. Here we keep the feet parallel, and we bend to the side and do the best you can do with this. Requires a little bit of shifting over so your body kind of arches over. So that's a stretch, but it's also moving your torso. So you feel, if you relax, you can actually feel it right through your back. Your back is actually generally pretty tense. All it does is hold you up, but it's not really designed just for holding. You should be able to kind of twist and turn and bend. So the more we do these type of bending things in this direction, the more we kind of turn like this, it frees up the body to actually learn to move. Now, I talk about tension as being a conflict, or tense muscles restrict movement. So, to avoid tension, try to be mindful that you can move. So you turn and you turn. You don't have to do, like I said, hundreds of these. Just do about a dozen of them, 10 to 15. Just twist your body. And I don't mean 10 on one side. Just do 5 on one side, 5 on the other. That's 10. And you lift up like this, and then you put your hand on your thigh if you need to. Slide down your leg and kind of stretch out and let things let go. Okay? And then you come back up, and you inhale, and you exhale. So you see, we move our arms. That lets our limbs fold and unfold, so they straighten and then they bend. That's all we're doing is bending and straightening. Here we're bending and straightening. What are we bending now? We're bending from the hip and sliding down, and everything else stays pretty straight. So we're bending, so we stretch the leg and we lift the back. So between the back and the back of the legs, it's connected. So that's why you would feel it a little in the back of the legs, and the deeper you go, the more you'll feel the stretch. And if your body resists the stretch, it doesn't let you go down. If it resists the stretch, you might feel some pain because the muscle is not letting you do that. So you're sort of stressing the muscle. So we don't want to actually go beyond a point where there's pain, or to a point where there's pain. So we just let it go, and then as you get a little bit more flexible, you won't feel the pain until it reaches that limit. All right. So I stretch quite a bit, so I actually don't feel much discomfort when I do the stretches, because my muscles are used to releasing, and my resting state is going to be much more open in a direction than someone that doesn't stretch. So that's how stretching works, and you have to kind of build on that. You have to do. I only do 3 of those, and then I actually go to the right, and then to the left, and depending on where you are in the stretch, you just have to work the best you can. All right. So you're here, inhale and exhale. So you can do this inhale movement, inhalation, exhale movement, separate from the stretch. You can just do that as an up and down movement 2 or 3 times. And then we have this deep breathing exercise where we go like this. So we're here. The hands are palm up, palm in, and then elbows out. And you go up on your toes and down. Same, we'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, and down. So I'm breaking it down so you can see in slow motion what has to happen as a course of the motion. It's coming toward you by pulling in like this. And it's not fast, it's just sinking the elbow, lifting the elbow, straightening the elbow, and releasing the shoulders, and going down as you release the toe raise. So going up on your toes is a tippy toe movement. You go up on your toes and you let it yourself go down. So it folds like right where the ball of your foot is. So that's a balance technique, but it's also working the calf muscle. So when the calves tense and contract, and it allows you to go up, and then it goes down. So because the calf gets pretty tight, when you lean forward, you could feel the stretch. So that's stretching the calf, and then this lets you go back. Okay. So this is very painful for some people because those muscles are always, wanting to resist the lean because the ankle doesn't want to release. So, our whole body is somewhat, it is linked together, but depending on what movement we're doing, we start to feel it, in the muscles. So that's really the tension. Okay, now we're going to do circular movements like this. So I'm going to do about 10 in one direction, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we cross the forearms. There's an X. You lean and squat down a little bit till you hold your knees. Then you make circles. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to switch. 1, 2. So you're really letting your ankles move a bit. Now, if your feet are rocking and you're going like that, it's because your ankles are not letting go to allow you to move your shin. And then your knees kind of fold a little bit. So you're working the knee joint, ankle joint, and you're folded over, and you're stabilizing your knees by holding the cross arm position. So the kneecap actually is holding that shin bone and the thigh bone together, and it's just kind of there. And so you are kind of moving it there, so you're really building some mobility there, and it's gentle. So if you have a serious knee problem, you might get some discomfort there, but it shouldn't hurt when you do something like that, or at least this exercise. Okay, then we're going to turn the head, neck exercise. We'll look in the direction to the side. So we stretch this. So movement is always balance, and you're kind of stretching to one side and stretching. We don't hold it. That's how you're going to get a bit of an injury, because if you hold it in a position you're not used to, you could actually tweak your neck. So then we'll go down, gentle, slow, and gentle. Little bit of a stretch, little bit of a stretch. Okay, then a little tilt, so you can feel it here and here, in the back, in the front. So every direction we go would allow a stretch here, allow a stretch here, allow the stretch here. So see, moving these areas where there's a lot of tension in the upper back and neck would be alleviated somewhat by doing this exercise. And then we're going to turn the head. Takes a little bit more control in order to move your head in a circular fashion, because it's creating a series of events that allow your heads to do this. And that's all happening in your brain to program you to do this. So if you're having a little trouble, the only way to actually do it is sort of visualize a circle, and you can let your head go in that direction. Now, I only do 2 or 3 because some people get dizzy when they start to move their head. So if that is a problem for you, don't do too many of them. But if it doesn't bother you, then you can do a few of them, and then try not to allow yourself to get dizzy. That's all. Okay, so that's the series of warm-ups. Now, I call this Tai Chi for Parkinson's, but we're just dealing with a bunch of warm-ups that are like calisthenics. You actually can do them. Anyone that you know can do these. They're good for anybody. It's not just specific to people with Parkinson's. It's just that I call this class that so that if you do have Parkinson's, it might be a class that you would tune into, whereas some of the other classes might have too much content for you to try to follow. This kind of takes it to specifically, some of your needs, which is, I think, letting go of tension, relaxing, building some motor skill in turning and twisting, some positioning, some directional movements that you're not used to or not familiar with. So they're very simple. You just have to go through the actions until your body can do them consistently. I say you should do these several times a week. They're really not very physical, so once you get the knack of it, or you sort of get it into your schedule as a routine, you might be able to do this every single day, because it's not going to create a lot of havoc in your muscles, because it's not so physical, and it's done slowly. So you do as many as you need to do or want to do. You can do 5, you can do 6, you can do 10. I wouldn't suggest doing more than 20, 25 with each one of them, because then it could get too physical for you. So it's really the number of repetitions that you do. So learning motor skill is consistency of doing it, and very specific to what we're doing. So we're bending, we're stretching, we're circles, we're making circles. So those improve over time. Now, when we're in this position, we move on to this 90-degree position with the heels together. We square the feet, put the hands on the waist, and then we turn. That's a pivoting. We go forward and back, forward and back, and we come back to center. And then we pivot. Then we go forward and back, and forward and back. And then we pivot, and we're back to here. So a lot of times the legs, and because legs carry your weight, so it's a load-bearing structure. And when you're standing, your legs have to produce enough energy to keep you from collapsing. But sometimes it's too much. What I mean by too much is your knees don't bend, because it's only wanting to carry your weight in a stacked position. So when we shift, we actually have to bring weight over here, kick this heel out, bring weight to that, and then pivot. But where people kind of resistant or reluctant to do or go into as a position is to bend this knee and then go forward and bend that knee. And as I said, if you're carrying your weight and it's very stiff, then the tendency is not to bend the knee, and then it gets a little bit rigid. So we want to bend the knee. We want to bend the knee so we can learn to sink down in the stance, but not sinking just to bend the knee. It's not really bending, it's releasing. It looks like we're just bending, but actually we're settling. And then we lift, then we settle, and we shift, and we go from side to side. So when we do that, we're really building control of the lower extremities, right? So we have to shift weight in order to be active and mobile. So that's side to side, but it works the legs. You're carrying weight one at a time. So the hands are up like this, and then we go forward, and then back, and then we turn. We turn this way, and go forward and back. You can see that I talked about this last week, that the hands are on the same side, and we're here. And here's a triangle. This is a circle, and this is a square. Square is when we swing our arms like this. The triangle is when we're forming this. From a side view, it looks like this. And we can go forward and back. If this is something you're doing, just holding this. Now we separate the hands. That's what we're doing, and we can pivot to here. Go back to the triangle, turn to here, separate the hands. Go back to center. We can go to horizontal, but we're going to do it like this. We're going to turn, go to center. Then if we had a horizontal position, we go forward and back. So sometimes when we're doing these forward and back movements, if you have both hands doing the same thing, it seems to be easier to do. That's because that's how the brain kind of works. It wants to do the same thing on both sides. So when we turn, we have the triangle, and we have the circle. And then we have the triangle. On the opposite side, it's the same, and the circle. Now, once you get familiar with that, if we turn like this, we separate the hands, then only the front hand creates the circle. Okay. So we're here. Well, if you're going to create the circle, might as well plant this hand on top of it like this, and you have the vertical and the press, or this movement. And we go back and we turn and we find a triangle. We go to the opposite side. We separate the hands. We take the front hand, go to horizontal, and that's that half circle. And back, and then we put the hand here and we go forward and back, and then go back to center. So you can see those two sides are made up of these. And that's all it is. Right? And we separate the hands by doing this. So that's, simplifying everything so that it doesn't, be confusing watching it the first time. But if you understand that, then the more you do it, the more refinement you would get out of doing it over and over again. Because then it doesn't have to be, sort of memorized all the time. It becomes part of your movements. So that's the right to left side. Now, when we're here, we pull our feet together so it is about maybe a 2-inch gap between the feet. And what we're going to do with that is swing the arms like this, and then bring the foot opposite. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we do the other side. We get the hands so the opposite foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can see that action from the mirror there, that when I go forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So if I'm here, you would see it like this. Straighten this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got a combination of movements that you build that coordination. It's the natural rhythm, and this is taking a step forward, this is taking a step backwards. If I continued as one motion, there's your forward, there's your backward. So you see the hands actually have to work with the leg. And when we do that, we keep the line like this. We don't want to be like this, because then you end up keeping the feet wide and you start to waddle from side to side. And that's actually not very efficient. The efficiency of movement really has to track on the vertical center line. And you have your foot on each side of that line. And if you look at this blue line I have here, that's about 1.5 inches. If I put my feet to each side of it, you would see that when I walk, I pass through the center and keep that tape between my feet. So at home, this is just blue tape. They use it, painter's tape or whatever you call that. And what happens is when you do that, you end up tracking your footwork. Okay, so that's, I think, helpful for coordination. And then work the twist. There's a little bit of a twist in this rhythm because you want your shoulders to kind of sway a little bit so your back is involved and you won't be as tight, because if you keep these stiff and then walk like this, then you're going to have a little trouble building coordination. This is too rigid. Remember, don't look down, look straight. Keep your spine vertical, and then take you in a direction is this. This is squaring shoulder width. This is closer together, sort of a starting ready position, and we turn 45 degrees and we're here. We turn 45 degrees, we're here. So if our feet are like this and I pivot in the direction, I'm going to go this way, I move this foot. I want to go this way, I move this foot. Now, if the feet are already here, then you shift and then you go to the ball of the foot and you're ready to take the step. If I turn in this direction and I go to the ball of the foot because I bring weight over to this foot, then I'm ready to take the step. Okay, so that's sort of getting you the basics of being conscious of how to get to the other side and how you should learn to move. Now, if we step like this and we start to take the step, then that's how you can practice it. This is a 90-degree pivot. And I start on 2, 3, 4. Turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's going sort of counterclockwise. Now if I turn this way, then I can take my step, right? I'm going that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pivot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pivot. So this is left foot forward in a clockwise direction. Right foot forward if I'm going in a counterclockwise direction. So in other words, if I'm walking, say, from this point to that dot, okay, 1, 2, 3, I turn. 1, 2, 3. If I go this way, I do the same thing. 1. That was counterclockwise. This is counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3. This is going this way is clockwise. 1, 2, 3. Clockwise. 1, 2, 3. Turn. 1, 2, 3. So it's like kind of like a military turn. Well, that's how the military kind of makes a lot of their turns. So you learn that probably in grammar school when you lined up and filed into gym or whatever. It's kind of how we learn to pivot and move. We do that type of pivoting and stepping in Tai Chi. Because when we're in a stance like this, and we go forward and back, and I want to move forward, I usually would do this toe out position. Or if I'm in a position and I want to go over there, that's the direction. If I want to go over here, it's that direction. So footwork is something that's learned and developed over time, and you build off of that. So that's basically what I do in this class. Go over that concept and idea, and then go through it so that you can copy and follow, and then pick up the strategy of how we can be better at walking and mobility, improve the gait, and also learn to release the tension in the upper body, which kind of becomes restricting. But a lot of that tension is a sort of part of maybe stress or a survival mechanism that wants you to, because you're feeling like you're out of control or you're going to fall or whatever, start to move, and then your body will start to free up, and it'll actually alleviate some of the stress in your body simply by moving. Okay, on that note, I'll see you next time, and hopefully this was helpful.